All right, so taking back to last week, we talked a lot about pronouns. Somebody tell me, what is a pronoun? Huh? It replaces a noun. Very good. And what is the name of that word that gets replaced? What? No, you think it's geometry. That's an I. What?
Well, the word entity,
Oh yeah, sorry.
because of feeling asserted in the.
He's feeling asserted. Okay, so the antecedent is what gets replaced. Man, she must have let go. Did she let y'all into my candy on Friday? I'm running low. I gotta get some candy.
I think there's a word. At least I tried.
All right, so tell me what the rule is regarding antecedents and pronouns. What must they do? Nolan. What? Agree in what? What do I mean by they must agree? They have to get along, sit at the lunch table together, or they have to agree in number. Very good. So fill in this blank. Singular antecedents take what kind of pronouns? Right, and then plural pronouns take, or plural antecedents take plural pronouns. Okay, so then we talked about nominative versus objective. And I will ask you on your test. Did everybody get these? The other classes on you. Sorry. All right, so now we also talk about nominative versus objective. So talk to me for just a minute. What are the nominative pronouns? And I will ask you to list these tomorrow. There are 6 nominative and there are 6 objective. And you need to know what they are, and you need to know the rules about when you use them. Okay? So who can tell me what are the 6 nominative pronouns and when do we use them? There are 2 rules of when we use them. So if I were you, I would make myself a Quizlet or some kind of study card, and I would put on the front, I would put nominative pronouns, and then on the back of it, I would put what they are. Who can tell me what the nominative pronouns are? He, she, we, I, who, they. Everybody agrees? All right, and then I would make myself a study card that says 2 times or 2 reasons or 2 uses. I'm gonna say uses. 2 uses of nominative pronouns. What would you say? What's the first time you use them? When it's the what of the what? Y'all remember? When it is the subject, right? You use nominative when the pronoun is the subject, right? That's also known as the object of the verb, the receiver of the action is the subject. What's the other time we use it? After to be, right? After forms of to be. What are the forms of to be? Is, am, are, was, were. I would know all of these things. You will ace your test. All right. We can also add actually been in there. All right. Now, somebody tell me what the objective pronouns are. There are 6 of them. I would memorize them. What are the objective pronouns? And these have a little hint. The pronouns that end with them are objective pronouns. So somebody tell me any of them that you know. Okay. Oh, we left one off of here though. Oh no, we didn't. Okay. Tell me them again. All right, so see the M ones, they're always objective. All right, so whereas she is nominative, her is objective. When do we use 2 times we use objective pronouns? 2 rules. So I would make myself two times we use objective pronouns. I'd make myself a space bar, and on the back I would say those 2 things. And the word objective gives you a clue when you use when it's the object of what? Of the verb, or the object of what? Yeah, the object of a prepositional phrase. All right. So, should you listen solely to your ear, what sounds right to you? No, you shouldn't. You should try to apply these rules, because sometimes our ear doesn't tell it, it messes us up. But if you're going to use your ear, what is one trick that will help you remember what, or figure out or confirm what is right if you can't figure it out? What do? Yes. So it's usually hardest to figure out which is the right one when you have the pronoun paired with either another pronoun or another noun. So you isolate the pronoun and then should see what is right, right? And what about this phrase, just between you and what? Me. You and me is always right, not you and I. Got it? Okay. So, any questions? Okay, so let's play Kahoot. And then, so if your phone is up here, you can come get it. Let's play a Kahoot, and then we will talk about, spend the rest of the period talking about just mercy. So you know that you're on the right track. Okay? So, all right, let's see. Log in. All right, everybody join. Real names, please. And one more. Who am I missing?
You're missing me, but my name's up there for some reason.
Your name is not up there?
No, it is not.
Are you on it though?
I am not on it. My name is up there, but I'm not on it. All right,
There you are. Okay. Okay, let's play. Pronouns. All right, so Mr. Sandifer told Dre and I, or Dre and me. It should be me. Is that objective or nominative? It's objective, yes, because it's the receiver of the action, right? Mr. Sandifer is the subject. Told, who did he tell? He told Dre and me. So therefore, it's the receiver of the action, right? So it's the object, right? Not the doer of the action, but the receiver of the action. All right, so it would be me. All right, Mrs. Hall and they, or Mrs. Hall and them went to the football game. This is a time where you cannot listen to your, they is red and them is blue. Okay, so is Mrs. Hall and they, is they a nominative or is it objective? In this circumstance, it's nominative because they is a part of the subject. It's Mrs. Hall and they. The way, the trick is you can take out Mrs. Hall and would you say them went to the football game or they went to the football game? They. So that is why it is nominative and they is correct. Got it? All right, let's see what the next one is. The teacher and she or the teacher and her went to the cafeteria. Ooh, I gave y'all too much time in that one. Somebody didn't answer. Somebody get kicked out? All right, so it should be the teacher and she. Does it need to be nominative or objective? What do you think it is? Objective or nominative? It's nominative because she is part of the subject teacher. Again, you can isolate. She went to the cafeteria or her went to the cafeteria. It would be she went to the cafeteria. So she is correct. I don't know. What you want? Piece of candy? All right. We can do a piece of candy. All right. Ella's up there. Let's go. All right. Madison and I or Madison and me are going to the fair. Do you need objective or nominative here? Objective is red and nominative is blue. Oh. Only half of you got to, only a few of y'all got to answer. So you needed nominative because I would be a part of the subject. All righty. Which of the following is not an objective pronoun? You got them up here on the board. So look, red is him, yellow is her, blue is she, green is us. So him and her are the ones that are kind of hard to see. Him is red, her is. All right, so she is not objective because if you look, she is underneath nominative. You need to know those for tomorrow, okay? Everybody should study that list. Let's see who's up there. Ella, Kyle, and Eric, 1, 2, and 3. Peter coming in a close fourth. Which of the following is not a nominative pronoun? So red is we, yellow is they, blue is I, green is us. So we and they are the two that are hard to see. Which one is not nominative? Us is correct. Good. So if you look here, this gives you all the objective ones. So you're looking for the one that would be on the objective list. All right. A little bit of a place change there. All right, pronouns must agree with their antecedent in. Red is number, yellow is singular, blue is plural, and green is time. What's the rule? In number, very good. That means if it's singular antecedent, take singular pronouns. Plural antecedent takes plural pronouns. Good job. Eric taking the lead. Kyle coming in second. Plural antecedents take what? Singular pronouns is red. Plural pronouns is yellow. Singular verbs is blue. Plural verbs is green. So plural antecedents take plural pronouns. Good. Most of you got that. Peter moving up second. I went to the store after Jake and he or after Jake and him. Do you need objective or nominative there? Think about it. And then pick the one that is either objective or nominative, depending on what you think. All right, so it should be, I went to the store after Jake and him. It's the object of it. That's a prepositional phrase. After is a preposition. So Jake and him. If you were confused, you could say, I went to the store after he or after him. I went to the store after him. And then it becomes obvious. Okay? Oops, sorry. Just between you and me or just between you and I? I think Mardi Gras will be canceled. Red is me, blue is I. Oh dear, still 3. Y'all look right here, just between you and me is always right, okay? All right, let's see where you guys are. Austin's moving up into 4th place. Kylie just took the lead. All right, true or false? An easy trick for figuring out the right pronoun is to isolate it and see how it sounds. True or false? True, true, okay? That's what I was talking about here. Isolate the pronoun, see how it sounds. That's the trick. Uh-oh, Austin, you just fell off. You should always listen to your ear when determining which is the right pronoun. True or false? False is correct. You should make sure that you're applying these rules, then listen to your ear. But your first thing should be just apply the rules. Kelvin moving into 3rd. Callie holding the lead. Most people who got sick were at the party, or most people which got sick were at the party? Who or which? It's who. Why is who right and which is wrong? What is the rule? When you're dealing with just people, you use who, right? If you're dealing with people or animals, you use which. If you're dealing with people, animals, or things, you can use that, right? So that is always right, but it wasn't one of your answers. So you had to choose between who and which. Who was better? Oh, Peter just took the lead. That was a big one. And it was a guess. Do you know with who or whom you are staying? Red is who, blue is whom. All right, do you know with whom? It's subjective, right? With whom? With is a preposition, so it is the object of a prepositional phrase. So whom is right. If it was the subject, it would have been who. Callie back in the lead. One question can make all the difference in the world. Whoever or whomever made the mess should clean it up. Red is whoever, blue is whomever. Whoever. All right, so here's the rule. You use whoever or who if it's the subject of a sentence. And this, whoever is the subject, whoever made. So it's going to be who without the right? Back on top, Peter. The dog who ran down the street barked at the jogger, or the dog that ran down the street barked at the jogger. Who is red, that is blue. Should be that. You do not, you can't use who if you're talking about animals. You have to use that or which with animals. All right, Peter's still on top. Austin coming back to 4th. I wondered when Wes and he or Wes and him would grow up. He is red and him is blue. He, good. If you didn't know which one was right, this is actually a dependent clause, so it serves like, it's like a subject of a sentence, but if you couldn't figure it out, take out Wes. I wondered when he would grow up, not I wondered when him would grow up.
So, is that the moment I pressed the?
Oh. Callie back on top. Let's see. How's it gonna go? We told Miss Richardson and they where the student went. This is the receiver of the action. So we is going to be the subject. It's nominative. So it should be them. It's going to be objective. Oh, that was a tough fall. Use nominative pronouns when the pronoun, what? Red says is the subject of the sentence. Yellow says is the object of the verb. Blue says is the object of a prepositional phrase. So red is the subject of the sentence. Use nominative pronouns when the pronoun is the subject of the sentence, is the object of the verb, or is the object of a prepositional phrase. Yes, that's this first one right here when the pronoun is the subject. So nominative equals subject. Austin on top. We have a new leader and a new second place. All right, use objective pronouns when it comes after the verb to be or when it is the object of a verb or a prepositional phrase. This is objective. There should be a key in there. Very good. So if you look, objective, right here, you use when it's the object of the verb, the receiver of the action, or the object of a prepositional phrase. Nice, Austin. All right, true or false? You use nominative pronouns after forms of to be. True or false? True is blue, red is false. True, very good. See, look, after forms of to be, nominative, after forms of to be. Eric moving into second. All right, the forms of to be are is, am, are, was, were, been. True or false? That is true.
I can't see the word from here, but I know that that's right.
I went through your reverse psychology.
Mm-hmm. All right, so what word means to tremble? All right, sorry, it's quiver. Quiver is one of your vocabulary words that will be on the test tomorrow. It means to tremble. I think that's the only vocabulary word I got on there. What did Walter do for a living? Red says he was a farmer. Yellow says he owned his own pulpwood business. Blue says he worked in construction, and green says he was a lawyer.
I didn't even have enough time.
He owned his own pulpwood business. Walter owned a pulpwood business. You need to know that. All right.
Oh, come on.
Eric moving into first. All right. True or false? Walter was well respected in his community. True, blue, false, red. True, that's true. He was well respected in his community until all this went down. What did Walter's business grant him? Red says wealth, yellow says time, blue says fun, green says independence. All right. Allie moving back up. Eric's on fire. Just 5 questions left. Walter had a high level of education. True, blue, red, false. False. Remember, who can tell me why he had to drop out of school?
His parents needed him for the plantation farm.
Yeah, his parents needed him to pick cotton. He was way more valuable than they thought it was for him to get an education. All right, true or false? Walter had read To Kill a Mockingbird. True is blue, red is false. Got a lot of time on that one, huh? False.
It's obviously green.
Oh, we didn't, nobody changed. Eric's still on top.
Eric, can you just like miss one, please?
True or false? It was important to Walter that Brian know he was innocent. True, blue, red, false. Who's the one person who's not playing? There should be 13. Right? Is anybody not in right now? Everybody show me your phones. Dallas, what's wrong with yours? Come bring it to me. Anybody else? Everybody else has got it? Let me see yours, Dallas. During the investigation, it was obvious that Walter and Ralph knew each other. All right, so remember, who can tell me what was going on when the police, remember, they're doing an investigation and they set it up so that Ralph will run into Walter. Do y'all remember that in the book? And what happened? Yes, and so it was sort of obvious that, they could tell that Walter and Ralph had never met. Do you agree? Okay. All right, so that's kind of an important detail in determining whether or not Walter was innocent or guilty. Did the police care? They didn't really care at all. They did not see that as reason not to charge him. Conditions in Alabama prisons in 1980s were terrible. True or false? Ready? Last one. All right, Brian was treated fairly by 2 officers that saw him sitting in his car. True or false? What? All right, everybody put your phones back up at the front of the classroom, please. Allie, way to go. Who's our number 1? Eric, very good. Come get a piece of candy. Allie, Eric, and Ella. All right, everybody, get out your questions and let's talk about what is happening in Just Mercy. Let's make sure that you've read them.
It's 11:40 something.
Yeah, 11:43. We got a few minutes. All right, so let's talk about chapter 1. Okay, let's talk about chapter 1. Let's kind of walk through. Here's what I would do if I wanted to make an A on my test. I would make sure I had read chapters 1 and chapter 2, and I would also make sure I knew the answers to the questions that I've given you. Obviously, those are things I think are really important. So let's turn in chapter 1. This is not my book. This is somebody else's book. All right, everybody turn in your book to chapter 1. Okay, so that means if you're just sitting there and you're not, I really don't understand the fact that a teacher would stand up here and you would just sit there and not do what she said. I don't understand that. It is, and it's so disheartening. Turn to chapter 1 on page 19. Okay, so page 19, chapter 1, we're talking about what's going on, right, with Walter. So is it important that Brian know Walter is innocent? Does that matter to Walter? Absolutely, it does, okay? So Brian has been working really, really hard, and we get some background about Walter and about where he's from. Where's Walter from? And all of these are potential test questions. So if you want to write down questions that I'm asking, that might not be a bad idea, okay? So where is Walter from? If you don't know, look, I'm on page 20. He is from Monroe County. Who famous is also from Monroe County? Harper Lee. All right. So now, and what did Harper Lee write? To Kill a Mockingbird. Very good. Had Walter ever read To Kill a Mockingbird? No. And why is that ironic that he had never read To Kill a Mockingbird?
Because it's like perfectly represents one of the characters in it.
Yes. Very good. Okay, so let's keep going. So we hear about kind of how Walter grew up. We read that basically he went to school for a little bit. Was there a difference between schools for African Americans when Walter was growing up and schools for whites when Walter was growing up? Is there a difference? Yeah, there is. Which one was better, would you say? Yes, so Walter did not have access to great education, and it said that his parents pulled him out of school after a few years because they really needed him making money. So were Walter's parents rich or poor? Poor, very good. Right, so that's an inference you can draw. Okay, so in Walter's hometown, cotton slowly went away, and what did it give rise to? What industry took place of cotton in Walter's hometown? What? Timber, very good. Now, what was the problem, though, with timber and the African American community? Anybody know? What did the book say? Everybody, I'm on page 22. If you don't know the answer to this, start reading. That third paragraph. Times were changing, for better or for worse. African Americans, largely excluded from this new paper industry, found themselves confronting new economic challenges even as they won basic civil rights. The brutal era of sharecropping and Jim Crow was ending, but what followed was persistent unemployment and worsening poverty. So what was wrong with why did the switch from cotton to timber, why did it negatively impact the African Americans? Yes, right. So they were left out of the timber business. The whites were making all the money off the timber business, but what did Walter do? What did he create once he became of age that actually helped him a lot? His own business, and it was pulpwood. If you don't know what pulpwood is a part of the timber and the paper making process. You basically take the parts of the tree and you boil them down into pulp, and then you can make paper out of them. So what did Walter's business give him? Did it give him a lot of money? It did not give him a lot of money, but what did it give him? Independence, very good. And so we found that Walter was actually very well respected in his community, but he had one flaw. Anybody know what his one flaw was? He cheated on his wife, and he cheated on his wife not with just anybody, but with who? Anybody know? What made her different? She was white, very good. And so that actually, during Walter's day, it was really, really scandalous if an African American man and a white woman got together. And so not only was she married and he was married, but she was white. And so that caused a lot of issues in this backdrop for poor old Walter. Okay? So I'm now on page 27, walking through. So then what happens? It says a few weeks later, and even more on All right, so in the town of Monroeville, something really bad happens, and it sets up the trouble that Walter's going to walk into. What happens? A white girl dies. Where does she die? Where? She's at work. What kind of work is it? Yeah, so she is at work at the cleaners, and she is found She is found murdered, right? And so this was a horrible thing because Monroe is not like it's not really a violent kind of place. All right, so that happens, and now there's a character. We're introduced to two characters. The characters we're introduced to are Sheriff Tate, right? And he is new to town. And what happened? Tell me what's going on in the town. Do they know who killed Rhonda Morrison? Rhonda Morrison is the character who gets killed at the cleaners, and we meet her on page 27. A few weeks later, an even more unthinkable act shocked Monroeville. In the late morning of November 1, Rhonda Morrison, a white 18-year-old college student and a beautiful young daughter of a respected local family, was found shot dead on the floor of Monroe Cleaners, the shop where she worked. Okay? All right, so turn to page 28. And we get to meet. It says police tracked the suspects down in Florida, but found that they could not have committed the murder. So at first, they thought it was these two Latino men who'd been spotted in Monroeville looking for work. But tracked them down, it wasn't them. So it says then the former owner of the cleaners, the older white man named Miles Jackson, fell under suspicion, but there was no evidence that pointed to him. The current owner of the cleaners, Rick Blair, was questioned, but he was an unlikely suspect. Within a few weeks, the police had tapped out their leads. All right, now, here's what the problem is. I'm on the middle of page 28. It says people in Monroe County began to whisper about the incompetence of the police. Why couldn't they even find a suspect? People murmured. Tom Tate, everybody underline his name. You should underline all these different characters so you can keep up with them. Tom Tate, was just a newly elected county sheriff days after the murder took place, and folks started to question whether he was up to the job. After all, the murderer was on the loose. So did Tom Tate have pressure on him to find a murder suspect? What do you think? Yeah, okay, so he's got his pride and his job on the line. All right, so that's going to be bad for Walter, right? Because Tom Tate might be willing to accept a murder suspect without fully investigating because he's feeling this pressure. He's got to find somebody. So pressure on Tom Tate equals bad news for Walter, okay? All right, so then something else happens to complicate on bottom of page 28 and the top of page 29. So what had happened? Yes, Vicki Pittman dies, a young woman from neighboring Escambia County. All right, that's the bottom of 28. I would underline or circle her name so you keep up with her. So, and then there is also Karen Kelly, who Walter is having an affair with. She begins to associate with a man named who? Ralph Myers, and Ralph Myers is going to be an important part of our story, so I would underline Ralph Myers. This is on page 28. All right, so Walter was wrestling with his own problems. He'd been trying to end it with Karen Kelly. A child custody proceeding and a public scandal had taken a toll on her. She started using drugs and seemed to fall apart. She began to associate with Ralph Myers, a white man with a badly disfigured face and a lengthy criminal record. The relationship with Myers brought Karen to rock bottom. Together, they became involved in drugs, and they were also implicated in another surprising crime, the murder of Vicki Lynn Pittman, a young woman from neighboring Escambia County. Okay, it says, while the death of Vicki Pittman was news, it failed to compare to the continuing mystery surrounding the death of Rhonda Morrison. Okay, so police pick up Ralph Myers. This is on page 29, and they question him. And they encountered a man psychologically complicated as he was physically scarred. So he's emotional, he's frail, he is probably on drugs. He also was illiterate. So if you wanted to characterize Ralph Myers, page 29 gives you a ton of detail. So I might write in the margin on page 29, characterization of Ralph Myers, details about who he was. So I could ask you a question on the test. Characterize Ralph Myers, or give me 6 details about who Ralph Myers was. Okay, so you could tell me he was a white man. He was physically disfigured. He was illiterate, which means he cannot read, right? All right, so look on page 30. It says that this is them interviewing Ralph Myers. It says this time he told investigators that he had been involved in the murder of Vicki Pittman, along with Karen Kelly and her black boyfriend. So here's where it all starts going downhill for for Walter. Ralph Myers accuses him of being involved. But that wasn't all. He told police that McMillan was responsible for the murder of Rhonda Morrison too. Okay, everybody listen to me. There are a lot of twists and turns in chapter 1 and 2. Make sure you have read it. Read over it a second time tonight to make sure that you are ready for your test tomorrow. Everybody got it? Don't forget to define these words tonight for homework, because they will be on your test tomorrow. Got it? Yes, ma'am. We got it. All right. Y'all have a good day.